2 of the long-range overland vehicle. This week we are going to be installing a receiver hitch on the vehicle so that we can both carry, racks for the dirt bike and various other things. Maybe a spare tire up on a rack back here. This one does not have a hanger on the back of the vehicle, and if I were to put bigger wheels on it, we would have to have a different place to put that other than inside the vehicle. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. I did go ahead and buy the OEM Toyota trailer hitch. I bought that one because it actually comes through the bumper, so that's going to require you to cut some holes. But the benefit there is that you'll really mess up your departure angle if you have a receiver hanging down below the bumper. So I was hoping to have my microphones on, but the batteries are dead, so we're just going to roll with what we got here. But I'm getting started. Disconnect the battery first. I don't know what kind of sensors would freak out if I don't do it before unplugging them, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it for hybrid vehicles and the Prime. The battery's in the trunk here, so I'll go ahead and pop that off. Once I've done that, I should be able to get to all that stuff in there. Okay, just for my own reference, these 3 screws were here, here, and here. These 2 screws, this is one with a washer, one without a washer. These 2 were here and here. The one without the washer was in this position, and then this guy came from right here. Then the next steps will be, I guess, that clip right there, and then this section of trim should be free-ish. Definitely update time. After you remove the wheel items, which are as follows, let's jump down into it. So 3 screws for the mud flap in the wheel well, 2 screws for the mud flap out of the wheel well, 1 screw for the actual fender itself, and then 2 clips. The 1 clip is hidden underneath the trim piece, which it's gonna feel like you're breaking it, but you just get your hands in it right here and pop, 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 pop these snaps. And this one here, this one will take this usually, but it's no big deal, just be careful. So then the whole side is free. Underneath and on the back side, you're going to start with removing this panel here. Then underneath that panel, there's 1 screw. There is 1 screw here. And then in the bottom, underneath all of it, there's 1 clip. So that is the full set of nuts and bolts to remove the bumper. Then neatly done, or well done on Toyota's behalf, which is how I feel pretty much every time I work on a Toyota. There is 1 plug for the entire rear bumper harness, kick panel, parking sensors. I think that's all that's in here, but one harness that hooks all of the bumper stuff to the car. So you unplug that 1 plug and then your bumper's free. So now we're in this state, no bumper. Next up, remove the aluminum crash structure and then install the new stuff. Okay, back with a quick update. I have removed the aluminum crash structure, this guy here. It's just 3 14mm bolts, and it pops right off. I used my little DeWalt electric impact, popped right off. These holes, I put the screws back in. I don't think they're going to interfere, and I think it's better to keep the threads from getting messed up. These holes, there's a hole underneath here, so you have to peel these stickers off of the mounting the threads here to put the receiver on. So I thought it would be good to repurpose 2 of those to cover the holes. So that part is sealed back up, so we shouldn't have a bunch of moisture incursion. At this point, I am ready to start doing the install. Well, as I stomp all over the directions, we are ready to literally do the install. So you basically put it all in loosely, and then we'll tighten everything up once it's in place. got the brackets installed. Nothing complicated there, but let's take a quick look and then talk about the shim setup and what it looks like we're supposed to do with that. So these basically bolt onto the frame like so. Everything is to be left loose until you final assemble. You can see loose, but you can see how it all goes together. It's very straightforward. Toyota did a great job. It's nice and easy. I'm getting ready to hang the actual receiver section itself, and I'll show you that in a sec. Okay, so I almost forgot I said I would explain the shim thing. So I set the receiver in place. Super cool. So we're on the left side of the vehicle, or driver's side. It basically says if one shim fits, I think it's supposed to be in this gap here. It basically says if one shim fits, don't use any. If two shims fit in here, put one shim on this side and one shim on that side. I have no fitment for shims, so I think mine's pretty good. The car is it's brand new, it's completely true, so this is kind of what it's gonna look like. It's coming together cool. Okay, so one complication that I haven't brought up yet, but I knew it was gonna be a thing and I hadn't figured out, but I have a plan, I think now, is my car has the kick activated lift gate, or I don't know if that's what Toyota calls it, but you kick your foot up under the rear bumper and it activates the hatch to open. So the directions from Toyota very clearly state that this does not work with that. I went into this knowing that it might be a problem, and I'm gonna make it work one way or another. So it looks like there's gonna be some interference, but it looks like it's some interference that I can work with, and with some minor adjustments to the bracket, I can make the receiver play ball with the kick panel. So let's take a look at what I'm talking about here. So this is the antenna. I don't know, let's call it a radar system. Basically, somehow this is emitting a signal, and when something encroaches into its space in a certain, pre-described manner, you swing in, you swing out, it opens the lift gate. What the problem is here is I'm supposed to be cutting into this whole area right here to make the poke out for the receiver hitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start by taking this bracket off completely. I'm going to make the receiver fit as tightly as possible with cutting as little material as possible, and then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to cut this bracket as needed. It'll be basically at an angle like this coming out through it, and then once the bracket's cut, I'm going to take this front one, and I believe I'm just basically going to stick it in this crack here. It'll be slightly lower than it was originally, but it should be in roughly the same orientation, slightly different angle. And then I'm going to use a couple of dabs of RTV, I believe. So I'm going to see if that'll work. I don't think you need to cut very deep into this bottom part. So I should be able to get, it should work. It should work. I think it's going to work. I'm going to keep you posted as I start looking at this, but I will let you know. I can't find anything online about people who have worked around this issue, so might be the first guy, let you know, but either way, we're gonna make it work. Okay, nerve-wracking part. I just drilled some holes, and drill the holes, and then I'll use a razor blade and run it down these edges of the blue tape. Very slow and steady, but the end result, I might be able to get away with not putting the edging material that they gave me on it. I think that'll look nicer. I went with 3 inches hole. It's 3 inches off center, and then the length of the stencil down. And I'm also significantly lower at the top, so these are going to be a little bit lower than need be, potentially. But this was originally something like this. The reason I did that was because there's a big gap at the top. Otherwise, it's not necessary, and I think it'll look nicer like this. So catch back up in a sec, and I'll show you how it came out. Quick test fit. It's literally perfect. I'm very glad I didn't follow the template. My nerves are finally not so shot. That was a lot of discomfort cutting into my brand new SUV. So you can see I need to clean up the edges still a little bit, but overall, I mean, dude, we're right on the edge of the receiver. It's a nice clean fit. I went with 3.5 inches wide, and I will measure, I'm gonna take it back off and I'll measure the whole distance down. So 3.5 inches, so 1.75 inches off of center. There's a line on the back of the bumper that is like the parting line that's perfectly in center. And I'll also measure this so you can get a ballpark here of exactly what I did. But I mean, the fitment's beautiful. It's maybe kind of hard to tell because it's black on more black, but I mean, it's got like a nice like 3 millimeter, you know, 1/8 inch-ish gap all the way around the part, just like you would kind of want it to be. So all right, so I kind of did the thing without explaining, but the gist of what's going on here, my you know, foot kick sensor, the cable, one of the two antennas or whatever you want to call it that picks up the motion of your foot coming in, was going to be like obviously right in the way of the receiver. So what I did before I cut anything, I taped this wire to the bumper, went and plugged it into the car, and kind of had the bumper sitting on jack stands off at an angle a little bit, and tested that this configuration works. It seems to work fine, so I went ahead and cut the plastic thing. Worst case scenario, this didn't play out like I hope it did, and I buy a new plastic frame that holds the kick sensor, and sell the sensor or something else, because it will not work in its current configuration. There's no way to like put the sensor underneath it. I mean, the 2x2 chunk of steel that the receiver is like right in the wrong spot. It literally, there's no way to make it work. So let me put it back together a little bit further, make sure everything is gonna fit still good, and then I'll go ahead and let you guys know how it works. All right, I found another pinch point. Again, it's only the bracket itself for the kick switch that I've had to modify here, but I had to cut about 1.5 inches or so out of the corner here, unplug. So this was sitting here and this was clipped here. This is going to be in the way, so what I've done is unplugged it there. I thought about going up over the top, but I'm worried that this will interfere with these wires. If this has power running through it, the yellow and red wire, and that causes noise. So I would imagine that if this is like a radio frequency wire, having power right next to it might cause some issues. So what I decided to do is I will just run this right over the top here, maybe zip tie it on, tape it on something, and then I'm gonna tuck this down here and zip tie that in place. So it's gonna look something like this when all is said and done. And I've gained a significant amount of room in this area because this was interfering with the bracket right there, where the receiver's mounted to. We're really close. I think we got it after this one. I'm gonna finish this up, test fit it again. If everything fits and works good, we'll come back and we'll talk about buttoning up the whole job. All right, y'all. I've got the bumper fully sitting in place, and I got a functional kick sensor with a receiver hitch. I will try and make sure that I carefully document all the mods that had to happen in this video to show you guys how to make this work. All right, not gonna lie, I came into this with no idea whether or not I was gonna be able to retain the factory kick sensor and also run the factory receiver hitch, but very, very happy with the results, and I will document it thoroughly so that other people can duplicate the work. I didn't do the wiring harness immediately because my main goal right now is to hang the dirt bike rack off of this receiver, but I do tow a trailer with my SUV, so in a future video we will do the wiring harness install, and I've already worked out how I'm gonna tuck the plug kind of like more in a hidden manner than how Toyota has another big cutout. So this is what it's gonna look like when all is said and done. Just know that the wiring harness is not in now and there's no plug yet, but you'll see that in the later video. So nice and tight fitment. I didn't end up using the trim. I was able to clean it up and get a nice nice finish, and you can tell that it's gonna work perfect. And you know, it definitely looks as OEM as it could be, and in fact, in my opinion, it looks nicer than if it was done at the dealership, because they hack this all out and there's like a much bigger gap. I would say, all things considered, I'm extremely pleased with the end result. The kick sensor still works just fine, and I have the OEM receiver hitch, which gives me that extra ground clearance versus having the, you know, Reese one or any of the other ones that you can buy aftermarket. So anyway, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and if you found any of the information in this video useful, please share it out. Thanks.